I was standing at the campus gate, phone in one hand, transfer acceptance letter in the other, watching Jessica ditch our dinner plans to walk Trevor home. Just like that. David, I'm so sorry, but Trevor twisted his ankle at basketball practice, she said, already moving toward him. He can barely walk. I'll just make sure he gets to his dorm safely. I folded the letter and slipped it into my jacket pocket. That's considerate of you. I'll head out then. Her eyes widened slightly. You're not upset? Why would I be upset about you helping an injured friend? I kept my tone dead calm. We can reschedule dinner. What I didn't say was that Trevor lived in Anderson Hall, a 10-minute walk from where we stood, while the restaurant reservation I made was 15 minutes in the completely opposite direction. What I also didn't mention was that I'd seen Trevor playing pickup basketball an hour ago through the gym windows, landing jump shots with both ankles working perfectly fine. Yeah, both ankles. Jessica hesitated, probably expecting me to kick off an argument. When I simply turned to leave, she called after me, I'll text you later. I raised a hand without looking back. Here's the thing about betrayal. It never announces itself with some big dramatic moment. It builds up quietly like interest on a loan, compounding in the background until the math becomes impossible to ignore. This wasn't the first time Jessica had canceled our plans for Trevor. It was the 7th time. I kept count not because I was being paranoid, but because I needed clarity before making any major move. That evening, I sat in my apartment and reread the letter from Northwestern University. Their engineering program had accepted me for the spring semester, offering a research assistant position that covered tuition plus a decent stipend. The opportunity had felt almost too good to be real when I'd applied 4 months ago, back when I still believed Jessica and I had something worth sticking around for. My roommate Alex came out of his room, bag of chips in hand. Thought you had dinner plans. Change of plans. Trevor needed help getting home. Alex snorted. That's what, the 3rd time this month. 7th time in 6 weeks. But who's counting? Apparently me. He dropped on a couch. What's that? I handed him the letter. His eyebrows shot up as he read it. Northwestern. David, bro, this is incredible. What did you apply? September. Figured I'd keep my options open. Does Jessica know? Not yet. Alex studied my face. You're actually considering this? I've moved past considering. I'm going. He let out a low whistle. When do you tell her? When there's something worth telling her about. I took the letter back. Right now, she's made her priorities pretty clear. I'm just responding accordingly. Over the next couple of weeks, I kept my routine locked in. Classes, senior project, meeting Jessica when she was actually available, which was getting rarer by the day. Every canceled plan, every last-minute bail for Trevor's sake, I clocked it mentally but reacted with total calm. The pattern became impossible to miss once I started really paying attention. Thursday study sessions got moved to fit Trevor's tutoring schedule. Weekend plans shifted because Trevor needed help with his car. Our anniversary dinner got pushed back because Trevor was having a rough week and needed someone to talk to. You're being so understanding about everything, Jessica said one evening over coffee between her classes. Most guys would be jealous. Jealousy requires insecurity, I replied. I'm secure in what I know. She smiled, completely missing the double meaning. That's what I love about you. You're so confident. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. Confidence and complacency aren't the same thing, but she'd learn that soon enough. What hit me hardest during those weeks was how effortlessly she lied. Not big dramatic lies, just small, casual ones that expose something way bigger. She'd tell me she couldn't hang because she had a group project, and I'd catch her Instagram story later showing her and Trevor at the campus cafe. She'd say she was exhausted and needed to sleep early. Then I'd notice her active on messaging apps past midnight. I didn't confront her. Not once. Instead, I used every hour she spent with Trevor to stack my own moves. I met with Professor Mitchell about the transfer, locked down letters of recommendation from 3 faculty members, and started researching housing near Northwestern. When the campus transfer fair rolled around, I'd already submitted all my paperwork. Professor Mitchell, one of the very few people who knew what I was planning, had written me a glowing recommendation. You're making the right call, he told me during our last advising session. Northwestern's robotics lab is world-class, and, honestly, your talents are being wasted here. I appreciate everything you've done for me, Professor. Just promise me you'll publish something brilliant and remember to credit your humble state school roots. He grinned. When do you break the news? After Thanksgiving. No point stirring up drama before the holidays. Why didn't see coming was Jessica creating her own drama first. The Friday before Thanksgiving, she texted me. Can we talk? It's important. We met at the campus coffee shop, the same spot where we'd had our first date 2 years ago. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her cup. I need to be honest with you about something, she started. I waited, letting her find her words. Trevor and I have been spending a lot of time together lately, and I think I might have feelings for him. The confession landed with way less impact than she was probably expecting. I'd known for weeks this conversation was coming. The only real question had been whether she'd admit it before or after acting on it. I see, I said, calm as ever. How long have you felt this way? Maybe a month. I didn't want to hurt you, David. You're such a good person, and we've had something really special. But you want to explore what you might have with Trevor. She looked relieved that I was finishing her sentences. Yes. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I nodded slowly, like I was processing this fresh. Not like someone who'd already done all the math weeks ago. I appreciate your honesty. Her relief was written all over her face. You're taking this so well. I was scared you'd be angry. Anger would imply surprise. I stood, dropping money on the table for both our coffees. I hope things work out the way you want them to. David, wait. She grabbed my hand. Can we still be friends? I looked down at her hand on mine, then back at her face. Jessica, you spent the last 6 weeks systematically putting another man ahead of our relationship, while expecting me to sit on the sidelines like everything was fine. You just told me you have feelings for him. So what exactly would our friendship even look like? She pulled her hand back. I care about you. I'm sure you do. In whatever way you're capable of. I held her gaze for a second. Take care of yourself. I left her sitting there, and the weight I'd been carrying for weeks just lifted. Thanksgiving break gave me some useful breathing room. I spent it with my family in Ohio, and when my mom asked about Jessica over turkey dinner, I kept it simple. We broke up. I'm sorry, honey, she said, though her face told a different story. Jessica had visited exactly once in 2 years, always citing school as the excuse. I'm not sorry, I said. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. My dad choked on his wine. My little sister burst out laughing. Savage, David. Just honest. I helped myself to more stuffing. Actually, I've got some good news. I got it in Northwestern's engineering program. I start in January. The whole energy at the table shifted immediately. Jessica's name never came up again. My mom wanted to know about housing. My dad grilled me about research opportunities. My sister demanded I send her Northwestern merch. Later, washing dishes together, my mom said quietly, "You seem relieved." I am. The relationship had been over for weeks. She just made it official. You already knew she had feelings for someone else? The signs were all there if you paid attention. I'm just glad I had an exit plan already in place. My mom dried a plate thoughtfully. That's very mature of you. Most people your age would have blown up, made a whole scene. What would that have accomplished? Drama doesn't change facts, and facts don't care about feelings. She smiled. What did you get so wise? Good teachers. I got back to campus the Monday after break to find my phone absolutely flooded with messages, most of them from Jessica. I think I made a mistake. Can we talk? Trevor isn't what I thought he'd be. Please call me. I miss you. The timestamps showed they'd come in over the weekend, getting more desperate with each one. I deleted them without responding. Alex was home when I got in. Bro, Jessica's been looking for you everywhere. She came by twice. What did you tell her? That I didn't know where you were, which was true. He paused. What happened? I filled him in. He didn't even hesitate. Let me guess. Trevor got what he wanted and bounced. Probably. Or she realized the fantasy didn't match reality. I unpacked my bag. Either way, not my problem. She's going to keep trying. Let her. Jessica cornered me outside the engineering building on Tuesday. She looked rough, like she hadn't slept properly in days. You've been ignoring my messages. I have. I confirmed, not breaking stride toward the entrance. She scrambled to keep up. David, I made a massive mistake. Trevor wasn't. He's not you. I got caught up in something that wasn't even real, and I threw away what we had. I stopped and turned to face her. No, Jessica, you didn't throw away what we had. You revealed what we had, which was a relationship where your commitment was conditional and your word was negotiable. Honestly, I'm grateful you showed me that now, instead of years down the road. Please, can we just talk about this? We are talking. You're asking for something I'm not interested in giving. That's the end of the conversation. You're being so cold. I'm being clear. There's a difference. I check my watch. I've got class. Is there someone else? Her voice had an edge now. Did you move on that fast? My relationship status is no longer your concern. Just like yours stopped being mine the moment you chose Trevor. I walked into the building, leaving her standing in the cold December air. The next 2 weeks were wild to watch from the inside. Jessica kept swinging between trying to get me back and acting like I was the one who'd done something wrong. Like she couldn't decide whether she wanted a reconciliation or revenge. I stayed consistently uninterested in either option. She showed up at my favorite coffee spot, the library, even the gym. Every time, I was polite but distant. I didn't know her anger. I didn't know her engagement. I just owed her nothing. You've changed, she said during one run-in at the campus bookstore. No, I just stopped pretending your behavior was acceptable. I apologized. What more do you want? Nothing. That's exactly the point you keep missing. Meanwhile, I was tying up every loose end at school. The hardest part was telling my senior project team I'd be leaving mid-year, but I helped them restructure the workload and made sure they had every note, every line of code documentation I had. We'll miss you, man, said Brandon, our team lead. But this is a huge opportunity. Congrats. I put in extra hours those last weeks, making sure the transition was seamless. It mattered to me that my leaving didn't create problems for people who'd been solid teammates. The work was important, so was keeping those relationships intact. The official word came during the last week before winter break. The engineering department sent out a newsletter highlighting student achievements, and my transfer to Northwestern was right up front, along with the research position and the fact that I'd been accepted into their accelerated master's program track. I was in the library when my phone started buzzing. Messages started flooding in from classmates congratulating me, professors wishing me well, and then, inevitably, Jessica. Northwestern, you're leaving? When were you going to tell me? How long have you known about this? I thought about just leaving her on read, but some part of me wanted her to actually understand the timeline. I applied in September, got accepted in October, made my final decision the night you walked Trevor home instead of meeting me for dinner. You've known for months. Yes, and you didn't think to mention it. You were busy making your own plans. I made mine. This is unbelievable. You let me think we had a future. I read that last message 3 times, genuinely marveling at the level of delusion packed into one sentence. You're upset that I didn't share my future plans with you while you were out here actively catching feelings for someone else. The math isn't mathing. Jessica. She tried calling. I declined. She called again. I blocked her number. Alex tracked me down in the library about an hour later. Dude, you're trending on the campus Facebook group. What? He flipped his phone around. Someone had screenshot the newsletter and posted it with the caption, David moving up while his ex is moving on to guy number 3 this semester. The comments were a wild mix. Congratulations for me, and some pretty brutal observations about Jessica's recent dating history. I grimaced. That's harsh. I mean, is it wrong, though? Alex scrolled through. Apparently Trevor dumped her after a week, and she tried to get with someone from her chemistry class who turned her down. Then there was some guy from her marketing class. I don't need to know her business. Fair enough. But the whole campus knows yours now, and the general vibe is that you upgraded while she downgraded. I closed my laptop. I didn't leave to make a point about her. I left because Northwestern offered me something better. She's just collateral context. The last day of finals week, I was deep in packing up my apartment when someone knocked. I opened the door, and there was Jessica. She looked rough. Dark circles under her eyes, hair yanked back in a messy ponytail, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie she'd clearly lifted from my place months ago. Can I come in? I stepped aside, mostly because I was curious what she thought was left to say. She stood in the middle of my half-packed living room, taking in all the boxes. You're really going? January 3rd. David, I know I screwed up. I know I don't deserve another chance, but you're right. You don't. She flinched. Can you at least tell me why you didn't fight for us? Why you just let me go so easily? I leaned back against the kitchen counter. You want honesty? Please. I didn't fight because there was nothing worth fighting for. Not because you weren't valuable, but because you'd already made your choice. You chose Trevor over me 7 times before you even admitted it to yourself. You chose the excitement of something new over everything we'd built. I didn't let you go easily. Jessica, you left easily. I simply accepted your decision. But you were planning to leave anyway. Yes, because I'd already seen the pattern. You weren't the first person to show me where I ranked in their priorities. You were just the one who made the decision obvious. So all those times I canceled plans, you were just keeping score. I was gathering data to make an informed decision about my future. That's not the same as keeping score. When someone repeatedly shows you who they are, paying attention isn't petty. It's just smart. She sank onto the couch. My couch that was getting donated to Goodwill in 2 days. I thought you loved me. I did love you. Past tense. I loved who I thought you were. And when you showed me who you actually were, I believed you. I crossed my arms. Love doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It doesn't mean sitting around waiting while someone figures out if they even want you. It means knowing your own worth and moving accordingly. And I wasn't worth waiting for. You weren't uncertain about your feelings, Jessica. You were certain about them. You wanted Trevor. You just wanted me as a backup plan in case it didn't work out. I held her gaze. I'm nobody's second choice. She started crying. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. No leftover affection. Just a mild impatience to get back to packing. I've been in therapy, she said through tears. Working on myself. Try to understand why sabotage good things. That's commendable. I hope it helps you. My therapist says I have anxious attachment. That I was looking for validation from Trevor because the relationship with you felt too stable, too secure. That's insightful. What does your therapist say about taking responsibility for your choices instead of just explaining them away? She wiped her eyes. That's fair. Jessica, I'm not trying to be cruel, but understanding why you did something doesn't undo the impact. You hurt me. You disrespected our relationship. You made your choice. I'm genuinely glad you're working on yourself. Do it for your next relationship. There won't be a next relationship. Not for a while. That's probably wise. She stood slowly. I should go. Probably. She walked to the door, then turned back one last time. Will you at least tell me if you're happy? I'm content with my choices. That's more than enough. After she left, Alex materialized from his room where he'd been strategically hiding the whole time. That was brutal, man. That was necessary. I corrected. She wanted closure on her terms. I gave her closure on mine. Think she'll finally leave you alone now. I think she finally understands that I've moved on. Whether she accepts it is her problem. Not mine. Northwestern's campus in January was bitterly cold, but I'd never felt more alive in my life. The robotics lab was everything Professor Mitchell had promised. Cutting-edge equipment, brilliant people, and projects that actually made my brain work overtime. The transition was smoother than I'd expected. I'd arrived a week early to get settled, find my bearings, and meet my new advisor before classes kicked off. Dr. Patricia Reeves was an absolute legend in the field, known equally for her groundbreaking research and her mentorship. Your undergraduate work is impressive, she said during our first meeting. But I need to know you can handle graduate-level research while still finishing your bachelor's requirements. I can handle it. Confidence is good. Arrogance is not. Which one am I looking at? Confidence backed by work ethic. Test me. She smiled. I intend to. Within 2 weeks, she'd slotted me onto a team developing AI-assisted prosthetics. The work was meaningful, complex, and exactly what I'd been chasing when I applied. No capítulo. You're picking this up faster than most of our graduate students, she mentioned during my second week. Your undergraduate research was strong, but this is another level. I'm motivated, I replied simply. What I didn't tell her was that every hour in that lab was an hour I wasn't dwelling on wasted time or misplaced trust. Every breakthrough was proof I'd made the right call. Every problem I cracked was evidence that I belonged here. I made friends fast. My lab partner Rachel was a PhD candidate from Boston with a wicked sense of humor and an encyclopedic knowledge of robotics history. We clicked immediately, bouncing ideas off each other and covering each other's blind spots like we've been doing it for years. "You're surprisingly well-adjusted for someone who transferred mid-year," she observed one evening as we calibrated sensors. "Why surprisingly? Most people who switch schools in the middle of the year have some kind of crisis pushing them. You seem stable." "I had a crisis. I just handled it by improving my situation instead of wallowing in it. Healthy and emotionally mature. Someone's parents did something right." I laughed. "I'll tell them you said so." The lab became my second home. Long hours didn't feel like a grind when I was genuinely locked in on the problems we were solving. Rachel and I developed a real rhythm. I tackled the algorithmic challenges, she handled the mechanical engineering side, and we'd meet in the middle to integrate everything. "You know what I actually appreciate about you?" Rachel said one night while we tested a new sensor array. "You listen when I explain something. You don't just wait for your turn to talk." "Why wouldn't I? You usually know what you're talking about." "You'd be surprised how rare that is." I thought about Jessica, how many times I'd explain something about my research and watch her eyes glaze over, how she'd pivot the conversation to something she found more interesting. With Rachel, conversations flowed naturally between work and life, technical and personal, without either side competing for space. Valentine's Day arrived, and I spent it in the lab running simulations. Rachel showed up with cupcakes decorated with tiny circuit boards and frosting. "For those of us who love robots more than humans," she announced, handing them out to the team. My phone buzzed. "Alex, Jessica is dating someone new. Thought you should know in case you still care." I typed back, "Thanks for thinking of me, but I'm good. How are things with you?" "Going well. Might have met someone at the gym. Tell me everything." We texted for 20 minutes straight about his budding thing with a girl from his biomechanics class. Jessica's name didn't come up once. Spring semester hit its stride. The prosthetics project reached a massive milestone. We successfully demonstrated a prototype that could interpret neural signals and translate them into precise physical movements. Dr. Reeves was genuinely ecstatic. "This is publication-worthy work," she announced to the whole team. "We're submitting to the Journal of Neural Engineering. My name will be third author." For an undergrad, that was straight up extraordinary. I called my parents that night. "We're so proud of you," my mother said. "Sometimes you get lucky. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You prepared, and you recognized the opportunity." I published my first co-author paper, presented at a regional conference in the spring, and by May, Dr. Reeves was already floating the idea of recommending me for the PhD program. "You're doing graduate-level work already," she said. "Why not make it official?" "I'm considering it." "Consider faster. I want you on my research team long-term." It was the kind of validation I'd grinded years for, and it felt earned. No shortcuts, no compromises, just consistent effort delivering real results. In June, I flew home for my sister Emma's high school graduation. Over dinner, my father asked how school was going. "Really well, actually. Dr. Reeves wants me to apply for the PhD program." My mother beamed. "We're so proud of you, honey." Then Emma, completely undeterred by the room's energy, asked, "Have you talked to Jessica at all?" My mother shot her a look. Emma shrank slightly, then continued anyway. "What?" "I was just curious." "No," I said simply. "We don't have any reason to talk. She keeps posting on Instagram. A lot of inspirational quotes, selfies with captions about growth and learning from mistakes." Emma scrolled her phone. "She's been in therapy, apparently. And she went through like 3 different guys since you left. Good for her. Everyone should have access to mental health resources." Emma looked up from her phone and studied my face. "You're really over it, aren't you?" "She's living her life. I'm living mine. That's how it should be." What I didn't mention at dinner was that I'd started seeing someone. Rachel and I had slowly shifted from lab partners to friends to something more. It wasn't dramatic or complicated. It was easy, natural, and built on mutual respect and shared interests. "Tell me about the robotics lab," she'd say, and actually want to hear the answer. "What do you think about this approach?" I'd ask, and actually trust her technical judgment. We were equals in a way Jessica and I had never come close to being, and the difference was remarkable. Rachel challenged me intellectually, backed my ambitions, and chased her own goals with the same intensity one brought to mine. No games. No saístas. Just two people building something real, no competition, no jealousy, no mind games. Just two people genuinely building something together. By August, I'd officially accepted a spot in the PhD program. 5 years of guaranteed funding, my own research projects, and a clear path toward exactly the career I'd been grinding for. I was in my apartment, now a proper one-bedroom near campus that I'd actually furnished like a grown adult instead of relying on milk crates and taped-up posters, when an email notification popped up. Someone had requested to connect with me on LinkedIn. Jessica. Her profile showed she'd graduated and landed a marketing position at a small firm back in her hometown. The request came with a message. Hey David, I hope you're doing well. I saw your profile and wanted to congratulate you on the PhD program. That's amazing. I've been doing a lot of reflecting over the past year, and I owe you an apology. You deserved better than how I treated you. I hope you're happy. You deserve it. I stared at that message for a long moment. Then I clicked ignore. Rachel emerged from my bedroom, wearing one of my t-shirts, hair still wet from the shower. Who was that? Nobody important. She kissed my cheek on our way to the kitchen. Coffee, please. Later that evening, curled up on the couch reviewing research papers, Rachel asked, do you ever think about your ex? I considered honestly. Sometimes. In the abstract, like remembering a bad investment. You learn from it and move on. That's remarkably pragmatic. I'm a pragmatic person. Even noticed. She leaned against my shoulder. It's one of the things I like about you. You don't carry baggage around like it's some kind of prize. Life's too short to be weighed down by things that don't serve you. Philosophy and robotics. You're a whole Renaissance man. I laughed. Just someone who learned to recognize when a situation wasn't working and had the sense to bounce. She tilted her head up at me. Should I be worried you'll apply that same logic to us? Only if you start canceling our plans to walk other guys home. Noted. I'll keep my ankle-saving heroics to a minimum. September rolled in. 1 year since I'd applied to Northwestern, 2 years since the beginning of the end with Jessica. I was deep in a lab when Dr. Reeves called me into her office. I wanted to show you this before it goes public. She handed me a tablet displaying a press release. We got the grant. The NIH had approved funding for our prosthetics project. $2.5 million over 3 years. My name was listed as a co-investigator. This is incredible, I breathed. This is your work paying off. You've been instrumental in developing the AI algorithms. On that, I read through the press release again. My name, affiliated with Northwestern's robotics department, attached to research that would help people who'd lost limbs regain function. This was what I'd been working toward. What I'd chosen over staying comfortable in a relationship that was quietly falling apart. Thank you for taking a chance on me, I said. Thank you for being worth a chance. She folded her hands. And David, this is just the beginning. The work you're doing is going to make a real difference. That evening, I took Rachel to dinner to celebrate. Over wine and pasta, she raised her glass. To brilliant researchers and well-funded projects. To making the right choices, I countered. Our glasses clinked. Later, walking back to my apartment through the Chicago night, Rachel asked, do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd stayed at your old school? With Jessica, I thought about it honestly. Sometimes, the way you might think about a road not taken. But I don't regret the path I chose. Everything I have right now, the research, the opportunities, all of it came from recognizing when something wasn't working and having the guts to change it. Good answer. It's the true answer. I squeezed her hand. Jessica taught me something valuable, even if she never meant to. What's that?